This one I'm speaking from experience because about maybe 10 years ago, I started having problem that I find myself being quite addicted to K-drama, Korean drama series. This started when they were playing this drama series at our normal television, means not cable television. And then my brother was actually watching it because he's not addicted to these things, but he's just intrigued by this Korean language. So he was watching the show. And then I wasn't in beginning, I was not interested. I was passing by, I was doing household chores like ironing and all this. So one day I was ironing when the show was on and I was watching, and I was impressed. I find it very interesting. And then I started watching. I remember the show was called Salt and Petals. The it is actually when the show was first aired, it was quite hype, and both the male and female lead actress were very, very good in acting. So it was very expression and all this kind of thing. And what they do with Korean shows is normally the show haven't finished production, means that when it's being aired, right, they still haven't finished the end of the show. Unlike with Hong Kong drama series, they will finish filming, then only they air the drama series. But so in this show, what happened was that they actually, it come up with it was all going very well, very well, and then suddenly the ending was anticlimax. Both the lead actor and lead actress died. It was so stupid. The ending, it was so stupid. It was a shocker, and then the show became a flop. But because it was a first show, right? It actually have a huge impact on me. Then after that, through the YouTube, I found another show, which it was a movie called A Moment to Remember. It's about a girl that actually have early stage Alzheimer. So the show was very profound and meaningful because it is one of the show that don't have a good ending as well. But it was very profound. I think it's one of the most meaningful Korean shows that I have ever watched. So then I find myself liking to watch the show very much, and then I cannot wait for like the TV which will air with advertisement, and it's just only 1 or 2 episodes a week. So I started going out to purchase this and trying to get online to watch, to actually like binge watch series. That's how I know how it feels like. It's very addictive because like for Korean show, they are very, very good with the expression, and it actually, they don't need to have like very expensive props and studio and all the sound effect. All they need is when the actors in it are their expression, even though they don't talk, it speak 1,000 words. So this is the attraction, what make people being attracted to these shows. So I was watching and watching and watching, and then it became like it actually affected my sleep, because when you watch, right, you tend to go over your sleeping time. That at that point of time, I have a very demanding job with a lot of responsibility. So after about a few times going to work like a zombie, and then because I binge watched the show until like maybe 2-3 a.m. in the morning, and I went to work like a zombie, I find that I cannot sustain. So that helped to prevent me. I actually have to cut myself off to make sure that I don't watch until early in the morning if I have to go to work. But I will allow myself on Friday and Saturday nights to actually binge watch all I want. But still, watching it was affecting my life. It was affecting, like, because I would not do anything much except I'll just do my household chores and all this, and then after that I will be down watching these shows for hours and hours and hours. What I normally do when I have things that I find very addictive, this does not work for all kind of addiction, okay? Especially when it comes to substance like drugs and alcohol addiction, it does not work. But for this kind like internet, maybe you can try what I did. I actually what I how I deal with things that I find addictive and after a while annoying me, and I find that I know deep down is wasting my time, is I will do it until I get so sick of and tired of it. And every time I do it, I will actually reflect on the downside of it. So after a while, I actually went out and actually bought these shows. And after watching, right, I when I'm watching, I reflect on what is the downside, what is the disadvantage of this kind, and how the allure, what are the things that drag us in, and all these things. I actually reflect on that. So after a while, I begin to see a pattern in this kind of shows, right? Is that they don't really, like, most of the time I think the show can be finished with 4 or 5 episodes. You don't need to run 16, 20, or 40 episodes, but they tend to have somewhere down the line during the episode, they tend to have a lot of unnecessary fillers, this wait a lot episodes of wasted. It's just a waste. It doesn't add much value. There's nothing. It's just a wasting. They're just filling up to make it like minimum 16 episodes and things like that. So after a while, it becomes very boring because the show, you have to go through all the episode to watch until the end, and it gets very boring, and almost every single series is the same thing happening again and again. So after that, when I start to notice this, I also start to get a bit bored. The second is the allure of the lifestyle and also the illusion that it brings. So I start to reflect that it's very, very different from real life. This kind of expectation, this kind of thing, it doesn't really happen in real life. It's important to form relationships with real people in your real life so that you can know the difference. Like if I want to break the cycle, right, all I have to do is when my friend asked me to go out, and I go out and I have a really sit down meal with my friend, both of us don't touch our phones, and then we really talk, really talk about our life, all this. And then when you do it a few more times and you try to break this activity, right, with something else, and something that actually more meaningful, or something that you find more interesting, then you will break eventually, right? That will have less and less allure. You have to find something to do when you find that you want to watch. So, and also it has to be something, there must be something in your life that is more meaningful compared to watching and going through the show, the show, so that you the addiction, it would not affect you very strong. For example, I have to earn a living. At that point of time, I have a very demanding job. People and the job, actually many people need me to help them. So I find that there's meaning, like there's a reality that you go to work, and then your work make a difference in the life of others who are trying to earn a living. You help them with their rice bowl, means they are living so that they can feed their families, and I, at the same time, I also quite like the job I'm doing. So after a while, and also because I don't like to go without enough sleep, then slowly, and I feel my weekends, because the weekend part, the Friday night, the Saturday night, that is a problematic part. So I fill it with activities. I replace it with other activities. Just like now, I find that these shorts, when in between, like caring for my mom, and then the short, I will actually just scroll through shorts, right? And then I'm starting to find that YouTube is starting to recommend the snippets of this Korean shows to me. That's why I wanted to do this video, because I think that if they start recommending to you all, you'll probably get addicted to it. So I just want to share my experience. When you see all this, right, you have to, if you already know the drawback, you already have reflected on the drawback, you have to find activity that cuts it off before the addiction kicks in. Of course, to me, it doesn't affect me anymore, because I have watched when at that point, there was one point of time, I just make myself watch. Okay, you want to watch, you just watch until I get sick of it. Until I find that there is actually a recurring theme all the time, and this is not realistic. This is not life. This is not real life. So I was able to stop. So now when this thing pop up in my short speed or whatever, I just watch, but then I will just scroll, I will just swipe through. I don't watch the. In fact, now I choose to watch something more relaxing or educational. Like for example, relaxing like some dogs and cat short skits, that people make. There's also one more part I would like to talk about, which is the unrealistic expectation. Because from all time, Dr. Jordan Peterson make a valid point when he said that people don't make money if, let's say, they are selling this boring show, this with a normal stable lifestyle, with a fixed income, no excitement, nothing. So this kind of shows, this kind of thing would not sell. They have to have something that trigger your dopamine, up your adrenaline. It's something unrealistic. But I can tell you, this is really not realistic. And many people, when you think that what is it, this drama is realistic, right? Then you're in for a big surprise and a lot of disappointment, a lot of heartbreak in your life. A good example is in the case of my mom. My mom is actually born. She was a very beautiful woman when she was young, and she was fair. She was like considered for Asian. She's tall enough, and she was considered a good catch because she was an educated nurse. So all ladies wanted their son to marry my mother. And the moment people see my mother, the guys they will trip all over themselves to want to chase her, to try to, my mother say, get under her skirt or pants, that kind of thing. So she did tell me that there's a lot of drawback from being beautiful, and then because you will never know what is the real thing. She have met her share of romantic guys who are in sales or doing business. They are very romantic, but in the end, she herself know that it's not sustainable, and she has a responsibility. She wanted to take care of my grand aunt, so she, at that point of time, she could not marry most of the people that came and chase after her, because during that time in society, it will mean that she will have to stay with the guy's mother and leaving the lady who adopted her behind, which is something she didn't want to do. So my mother was actually basically prepared not to get married until my father was introduced to her. So my father came from a big family, and he was the only person that was able to actually stay out, because his family was too big. If my mom married him, there was really no room to stay with the mother-in-law. There are too many siblings crammed in the house already. So at that point of time also, my mother was so sick of this partying life, this going for party and, this kind of lifestyle, dancing and all this. And she finally met a scholar, a guy who came from a university, and he's a nerd, and he seemed so genuine, and he was so smitten by my mom and stuff like that. So my mom married him. And he was smitten, actually, basically, my dad was smitten by my mom's beauty. After they got married, things were rosy for a while, and then when the children came along, it became a problem, because that's when responsibility sets in, and then their differences in life and philosophy become apparent. Both my parents are wonderful people, but it's just that they are wrong. I would say they are wrong for each other, because very totally different. My mom was Western educated. My father was actually Chinese educated, very traditional Chinese man, and my mom was this kind of very open-minded Western educated, who believe in boy and girl equal, and and that the husband should help out in the household. And then they fought a lot. But the thing is, my mom actually, she was a very responsible person. So what happened is that she told me, because after she married initially, of course she still have the beauty. She told me if she wanted to, she would have easily like have an affair with a doctor or something, but she closed up the road because she had decided that once she get married and she have children and she settled down, she would no longer look that way anymore. So how many people, the question, and in a way my mom also chose to let herself go, means that she opted eventually slowly she don't put on makeup and perfume, and also she just ate what she wanted. When she was younger, she never have to go on a diet because she had a good she had very high metabolism, because from young she was constantly hungry, she doesn't eat much, and she was very active, so she had built up a high metabolism. But after childbirth, the metabolism slowed down, and she still continued eating, so she put on weight. It's just that because she wanted to close that kind of door to any temptation, anything, so it was a choice she consciously made. But I want to ask you, how many people would actually make that kind of choice? If you go into these Korean shows, right, whereby the way how this romance started out, right, the attraction, all this, bear in mind that the beauty of the lady would fade. If you're a woman, it's going to fade no matter how much money you spend on makeup. And we all know that plastic surgery doesn't, sometimes it really make a person look worse than before. It doesn't make things better, because plastic surgery is something like not real. But at the same time also, when the person know the real you, maybe they'll get tired. How many of these things is able to sustain? And once it's not able to sustain, if you are with that kind of guy, that what is being shown in the movie, frankly speaking, the guy also have this FOMO, that they don't want to be left out, that they don't want to actually leave their life behind and settle for what they feel is less, when there's so many pretty fishes out there, So they will do back the same thing like what you see in the movie with other girls, especially if they're rich and influential. People would, women, these gold diggers or whatever, they will go all over. So you are also going to have, this is not realistic. It is seldom sustainable. It's always the boring thing that movies don't show because it won't sell. That those are the real sustainable lifestyle, and those are things that you will come to miss. Not the excitement, not the parties, not the fake friends and all this social media posting and all this kind of thing. So it gives a very and if you understand this, then you won't be spending so much money, because if you're fueled by all this dopamine rush from these shows, right, you will tend to purchase and live beyond your means, which is unnecessary. So if you go through and you really go through and you reflect and you observe the life of those around you and you reflect, hopefully you mix with people who are genuine, who are real, who are down to earth, right? You will be able to see the difference. I'm fortunate because I'm able to see in the case of my mom, and my mom have the wisdom. Before she had Alzheimer's, she was very wise woman. She advised me and she told me that the beauty, all this is not important, because very fast people look beyond that. And in the end, what sustains is the inner beauty of what you are really inside. And people would love you and treasure you for who you are really inside. So there's the kind of thing, person, relationship that you need to settle for. And this is not shown. Once you realize that all these things are unreal, right? Unless we are trying very hard to escape, or we have some kind of trauma we want to escape, this thing will cease to hold their allure to you. And I hope that if you reflect on that, you will actually realize, because it can really, if you realize all these things, it will save you a lot of money, a lot of time to try to be who you are not. So hoping this sharing helps. With the story, everything, I think I babble too much, but I really genuinely want to, I see that nowadays people are just scrolling, they are being addicted, they want to escape the reality of their life, not realizing that sometimes what you have, right, is what is the most meaningful thing at that point of time when you have it and you didn't know it. Take care.